Hey folks, breaking news. We have lost Olivia Newton-John, dead at the age of 73. This is certainly tough news for fans of Olivia. I think back to, the 70s and the 80s and just what a tremendous force that she was in the world of music. And it definitely is a sad day indeed. So let me go over the facts here real quick and let's cover them. And those folks that want to stick around and share their memories, I would love to have you do that. We'll make sure I share them on the screen. But I do want to get through the pertinent details for folks that maybe have just jumped onto the live stream to find out what exactly has happened. So let me go ahead and do this real quick. This is being reported by all major news outlets. Olivia Newton-John dies at age 73. Of course, this is a quarter-century battle with breast cancer that has been ongoing and that she waged so valiantly over the course of those 20 plus years. So let's dig a little deeper if we can here. Let me go to the Yahoo article. And it says that Olivia Newton-John, singer, actress, philanthropist, passed away today, August 8th, and she was 73 years old. And as I mentioned already earlier, this has been a long, long struggle with breast cancer. She survived by this is her second husband, John Easterling. Of course, in the 80s, she was married to Matt Lattanzi, who was an actor and an aspiring actor model. And Easterling announced the sad news through her Facebook page, along with her daughter, Chloe, who she had with Matt. And this is the actual quote here. I'm going to go ahead and read that one verbatim. It says, Dame Olivia Newton-John passed away peacefully at her ranch in Southern California this morning, surrounded by family and friends. We ask that everybody please respect the family's privacy during this very difficult time. Olivia has been a symbol of triumph and hope for over 30 years, sharing her journey with breast cancer. Her healing inspiration and pioneering experience with plant medicines continue with the Olivia Newton-John Foundation Fund, dedicated to researching plant medicine and cancer. And then they suggest that in lieu of flowers, the family asks that any donations be made in her memory to said foundation. And that's at ongfoundationfund.org. Okay, so, I think a lot of us probably remember when she really propelled to fame, and that was, of course, the movie Grease. But for a guy like me who was a teenager in the late 70s, early 80s, I remember her for a lot of things. Not the least of which was the after Grease, she had another movie that I absolutely loved. It was lambasted by the critics, but those of you that have seen Xanadu, I think a lot of you know why that's such a fun movie and why it has so many fans. And of course, she had that huge hit with the album Physical and the single of the same name. So let me go ahead and take that off the screen for a minute. And we'll go over to Twitter in just a second for folks who want to hang around. We'll see what some of her celebrity colleagues are saying and what kind of tributes are pouring in via Twitter. But I want to first get to your comments. Danny Staten from South Carolina. How you doing, Danny? Says no. Mr. Marcelo Romero says very, very sad. John Doe says sad again. Maud Matilde H says so sad. Ken Pope, the same thoughts. Patty Grant says my heart is just broken. Patrick O'Malley says very sad. Matt Conmera says this is such sad news. And then DJ Mexicano de Texas says I love Grease. R.I.P. Olivia. Deborah Gist says she'll definitely be missed. And Hikmet Ko says R.I.P. Devlin says had all her records, gave me such joy. Hey, why not share what your favorite Olivia Newton-John was? Olivia Newton-John song was. I'll share mine in just a minute. Carl Dunn says, this is too much. Rest in peace, Sandy. Karen Lee Maloney, my heart just broke. So sad. Dinsdale 5 just saw the news. Charlton Singleton says, so very sad. Lynn Purcell, she was an inspiration. God love her. She was amazing. Kalina 71 says, this is just terrible news. I idolized her for sure. And Ricarda Pomposini says, it's just so sad. Stardust Memory says, crush. Not only did I share her birth date, 9/26, but she was also my first huge crush growing up in the 70s. Just an amazing human being. And Mac Conmera points out that even Donny Osmond had a crush on Olivia. Rare Medium says 74th birthday would have been next month. Superplex points out, I should say Superfan Superplex says, another sad day this summer. Danny Staten says, this is getting old. And I should add Superfan Danny Staten. This is getting old. Seems like this is happening every week. Troy Hamilton says, totally sad news. Angela Goodwin says, rest in peace. Lovely Olivia. Marie Tarala says, I know I am old now. And Celebro469 says, my first crush. I made my dad take me to the first showing of Xanadu. Theater was almost empty. I enjoyed the movie, and my dad loved the soundtrack. I'm trying to think how the theater was. I went and saw it. I didn't see it opening weekend. I actually waited a few weeks and saw it at one of the discount theaters in our area, but I saw it like 3 times that week. I loved it so much. Thanks for sharing those memories. V says, I used to work at Fashion Conspiracy, and when Grease aired, everyone was buying up our black skin tight pants that Olivia Newton-John wore in that last scene of Grease. Yeah. Cindy Meadows says, look at all the celebrities that we've lost. Bill Russell, Bob Saget, Gilbert Godfrey, all of them, including Louis Anderson. Yeah, a bunch. Not to mention Tony Dow, Larry Storch, just James Caan, so many. Mark M says, rest in peace, Olivia. Heaven has welcomed another. Beth Tyree says, loved her music. She had the voice of an angel. Maurice Hampton says, I loved her singing. Rest in peace, Olivia Newton-John. Doc Savage says, my condolences to her family, as does Superfan Superplex. Dennis Shetman says, I had such a crush on her. She was beautiful inside and out. John Doe says she rode to heaven in greased lightning. That's totally appropriate. And Tom McCluskey, a.k.a. The Hungry Jerk, says, this is so sad. George 1960 Collecting says, so sad to hear of the passing of Olivia Newton-John. May she rest in peace, and condolences to her family. Linda H.H. says, thoughts and prayers to her family. She fought breast cancer for so long. Yeah, quarter of a century. But she was brave, but that's 2 wonderful Aussie female singers, Olivia and Judith, top vocalists. Kalina 71 says, Xanadu. Yeah, how can you forget Xanadu? I mean, it wasn't the hit that Grease was, but it certainly was a favorite of mine. Mr. Marcelo Romero says, saw her in concert summer of 1982 at Wake Forest Hills Stadium. Kalina 71 says, I was obsessed with that movie. I saw her 82-83 at Weber State University in Ogden, Utah. That's where I saw her perform live in concert. U.S. Mental 49 says, I'm saddened at the passing of Olivia Newton-John. Such a talented and classy lady. You will be missed, Olivia. George 1960 Collecting Music said, Olivia Newton-John was already a big singing star when she made the film Grease. Absolutely. And so like I asked earlier, what's your favorite Olivia Newton-John song? And mine was a hit that she had prior to Grease. I'll share that in just a little bit. Superfan Superplex says, another star arises in the constellation. And Sheila Young says, how very sad. Loved her before Grease. I loved her music. Superfan Danny Staten again comments about how very sad everything is. Suzanne Ogden says, my heart is broken. She was an amazing human being. V says, I loved her song, Have You Ever Been Mellow? And that is my favorite Olivia Newton-John song as well. There's another one, I think off the same album, called Sam, that's a favorite of mine as well. Supernova says, what a brave girl. Rest in peace. Fear no more the heat of the sun. I'm so sad. George 1960 Collecting says, Let's Get Physical was number 1 on the charts for 10 weeks in 1981 and one of the biggest hits of the 80s. I remember back when that song was so popular, and that look that Olivia Newton-John had at the time. Every girl in high school seemed to be trying to emulate that look that she had. Rare Medium says started her music career doing folk covers of Dylan and Christopherson. And yeah, lots of folks may not realize that she was very much a country music star originally, prior to kind of moving on over to the world of pop music. Stardust Memory says, loved her rendition of Hammond's Air That I Breathe. And Kevin Lukehart says, Olivia Newton-John, great singer and actress, just found out she passed away. It's another sad day, truly a very sad day. Doc Savage says, Olivia Newton-John also worked again with John Travolta in the film Two of a Kind. Yes, she certainly did. Now that was even less of a hit than Xanadu, if I remember correctly. But it had that great song in it, a song that ultimately they revived and resuscitated a couple years back for a season. I think it was the last season of Stranger Things, Twist of Fate. Great Olivia Newton-John song. It's Lynn Jean says, Olivia, we honestly loved you. And Superfan Zupaplex says, Ms. John fought the valiant fight. Scott Barnes, by the way, is the individual who made me aware of Olivia's passing today. So thank you very much, Scott. Says, loved her in Grease and Xanadu. She was an inspiration with battling illness. Yeah, absolutely. She just took it on with such a positive, perspective and optimism. Her attitude was what you would want any patient to be. And I guess ultimately that was still... 25 years with cancer, she went down swinging, and it was a good long battle. And that positive attitude that she had, she definitely was an inspiration. Jason Schultz says, seems like nobody dies from old age anymore. And Tone Hobart says, many hits prior to Grease. My fave is Let Me Be There, another classic. So good. George 1960 Collecting Music says, I enjoyed her entire catalog of music. And Ben Dover says, I've been hopelessly devoted to Olivia since the mid-70s. As have I. The song, what is it? Is it called Fly Away, or is it something else? The duet that she did with John Denver. I love that one too. Missy Glitter Vlog says, I've been crying since I've heard. I've been a fan since the early 80s. And Mr. Williams says, so sad. R.I.P. Lovely Olivia. I will get back to comments in just a moment. But first, for those folks who are just joining, all major news outlets today are reporting the passage of Olivia Newton-John. She's dead at the age of 73 after a quarter-century battle with breast cancer. And in just a moment, I will share the family's message that they posted on Facebook if you missed that earlier. But let's get back to some more comments. Max says, have you never been mellow? I love that song. Angela Goodwin says, let me be there. Have you never been mellow? And her duet with Andy Gibb, I Can't Help It, are some of her favorites. Brad says, Magic was my favorite. Love that song. So good. Skip Rock Jr. says, A Little More Love was ONGA's best song. Linda Double H says, have you never been ever been mellow? Hungry Jerk says, Suddenly with Cliff Richard. That was a great duet, wasn't it? Rose Red says, Heart Attack. Now that was a rockin' song. I enjoyed that one. Olivia was one of the first people or artists that I remember to put out a long form music video compilation prior to even the advent of MTV, and Heart Attack was on there. It was a great collection of music videos. It was on VHS, and I remember my friends and I, when we'd go rent out movies, we'd often pick that one up as well. It was just so well done. John Doe says, all the ones that made the great stuff are leaving an amazing legacy, gone, never forgotten. Superfan Dave Caroni says, sad day indeed. So very true, Dave. So very true. John Z. Washington says, wow, rest in heaven. And Sakina McMurrin says, hi, Dave. Olivia Newton-John sang like an angel. I was a fan for nearly 50 years. Kristen Davis says, my favorite ONJ songs were Xanadu and You're the One That I Want. That's another great one. And just Xanadu, for being a flop, right? A critical and box office flop when it came out. What a legacy that movie has. Cindy Self says, rest in peace, Olivia. And Doc Savage says, Xanadu was a very underrated film. Kalina71 says, I didn't see Xanadu in the theater. I watched it over and over on HBO, however. I think that's where a lot of folks did really come to know and grow to love that movie. She was also my first crush, says Dennis Scheckman. And Rose Red 360 says Xanadu was the best. Cult classic indeed. Carla Chasteen says, what age was she? She was 73 years, and she's been battling breast cancer for about 25 years. So, yeah, was very much aware that she had cancer. And let's go ahead and go to that family comment here real quick. Let me move over there. I'll read this verbatim. This was on her Facebook page. It says, Dame Olivia Newton-John passed away peacefully at her ranch in Southern California this morning. Surrounded by family and friends, we ask that everyone please respect the family's privacy during this very difficult time. And this is a message that was posted by her husband, John Easterling. And from what I understand, her daughter Chloe was also attached to this message as well. Olivia has been a symbol of triumphs and hope for over 30 years, sharing her journey with breast cancer. Her healing, inspiration, and pioneering experience with plant medicine continues with the Olivia Newton-John Foundation Fund, dedicated to researching plant medicine and cancer. In lieu of flowers, the family asks that any donations be made in her memory to the ONJ Foundation Fund. .org. That's where you'd go to make a donation there if you so desire. All right. Okay, and in just a minute, we'll go over to Twitter and see what kind of tributes are showing up there. But first, let's get a few more comments in. Mickey Woodcock asks, hey, everybody, hi, everyone from Oxford, UK. Olivia Newton-John was born in the UK, born in England. Fat Comic Book Guy says, another like. Thank you so much there, Danny Staten. And Marcus Smith says, I think I know how. Did Olivia die of cancer? She did indeed. Breast cancer. Donna Dressler says, losing more of my childhood. She will be missed. My favorites were I Need Love and Magic. Dennis Jones says, I just saw this. So sorry she passed. Loved her music. Mark Nesselhouse says, so sad to hear this news. I just found out a few minutes ago. And Adrian James says, hello. Tone Hobart says, an angel has returned to heaven. So very true. And Danny Hooley says, just heard about this. So sorry to hear that. I remember her most besides Grease for her brief marriage to Matt Lattanzi. Yes. And, while that was a brief marriage, I'm sure Olivia would tell you that a lot of good things came out of it. Well, one really, really good thing, and that is her daughter, Chloe. Cindy Meadows says, we've lost Tony Dow, Betty White. And Pete J points out that she had the #1 song in the 80s, Let's Get Physical. Sakina McMurrin says, the Xanadu soundtrack was awesome. I still have my albums, my 45s in my closet. And Rich Carr says, I never liked Xanadu, but I loved Olivia ever since Let Me Be There. Well, there you go. That's okay. Diana Johnson says, oh my goodness, Precious Angel. I knew John Travolta was devastated. Maybe we'll see a comment over there in Twitter here. Vijayant Govinder says, my deepest condolence to her family from South Africa. Fat Comic Book Guy, Danny Staten has a new channel and he's wanting me to promote it. Danny, I'm not going to do a lot of heavy promotion of anybody's channel right now. We're here to celebrate remember the great Olivia Newton-John. But folks, if you want to go see some great comic book reviews, that's the channel to go to. This guy knows his stuff. Texas Rocks Hill Country says, I thought she was from Australia. She grew up in Australia, but she was born in England. Let's see. Crominion says, I saw her live in concert, Tempe, Arizona, back in 82, 83. Rest in peace, Olivia. Danny Hooley says she's British, but raised Australian. Let's see. Tone Hobart says, let me be there. Another great song. Dennis Jones says, have you ever been mellow? Skip Rock Jr. says, Weber State is Damian Lillard's alma mater. Yeah. And mine as well. That's where I got my undergraduate degree. Dennis Jones says, never I meant. Yeah, never. I was trying to remember that. Is it have you never been mellow or have you ever been mellow? Can't remember, and I love the song. Sounds like Dennis thinks it's never. Coingo Boingo says, please, Mr. Please. Yeah, that's a great song. Doc Savage said, hard to believe that ONJ's last movie was Sharknado 5. I haven't seen that movie. I didn't know she was in it. Karen Lee Maloney says her greatest hits bring me such joy, such wonderful memories to each song. May her spirit soar forever. DJ Mexicano de Texas says my favorite song was Hopelessly Devoted to You. So good. Marie Osmond was originally picked to be Sandy in Grease. Yeah, I've done a video on that on my channel. And they are such good friends. That's one of the really cool things about that story. Sakina McMurrin says my favorite ONG song is I Honestly Love You and Have You Ever Been Mellow? Adrian James says, shocked at the news. Louisa Weiss says, sad day for ONJ fans. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead here because I'm going to lose. There's a kind patron of the channel has dropped a super chat in the chat at 3:04 p.m. So let me find that real quick and let's go ahead and just jump to his comment. There it is. This is from Dan Campbell. Thank you so much, Dan. Truly appreciate the super chat. He says, thanks for the notification. She will be missed. Well, you're very welcome. And I truly wished I wasn't notifying anybody about this today. She has truly been an inspiration for all of us in the way she's handled this, this battle with cancer over a quarter century that she's handled with her head held high, with optimism, and just with a courageous spirit. And boy, oh boy, if there's any reason for us to go and find whether it's a CD, a cassette, or, an album, I have some Olivia Newton-John albums, or just find her on Spotify or wherever you listen to music. Tonight's the night to listen to some Olivia Newton-John. Thank you again for the super chat, Dan. I truly appreciate you as a patron of the channel. You are very, very much appreciated. All right, I am going to take that off, and we're going to pop on over to Twitter here for a minute and see what folks are saying over in Twitter land. Let's see. Says, okay, Olivia Newton, I'm going to do a refresh so I can get the most recent comments here, the most recent posts. Let's see how we do here. Taking a minute to refresh. All right. This is from John Travolta. He said, my dearest Olivia, you made all our lives so much better. Your impact was incredible. I love you so much. What a great message. I'm going to keep scrolling. Lots from BuzzFeed and Hollywood Reporter. Here's a quote from Randall Kleiser. Now, if that name doesn't ring a bell to you, that is the director of Grease. He says, she was one of a kind and so very kind. For over 4 decades of our friendship, she exuded nothing but love to everyone she met. Olivia was exactly the way you imagined her. I will miss her forever. Oh, what a great comment. Oh, and to add to the John Travolta comment, he says, yours from the first moment I saw you and forever. Your Danny, your Dawn. All the major news outlets are doing the reporting. I was hoping to get some more comments just from colleagues. We'll see if we get anything else here in just a second. Hollywood Reporter, Wall Street Journal. I'm going to let that refresh. We're going to go back to comments here for a second. Let me go up here. David C. says, I knew about her from hearing her name in the science fiction British comedy Red Dwarf as a teen. Okay. And Mickey Woodcock says, don't forget to send Dave some love and let him know how much we appreciate him. Hit the thumbs up button. I would appreciate that. I know this isn't typically news that you would throw a thumbs up at, but if you enjoy this kind of live stream, just kind of getting together, connecting, and celebrating the life of someone that has passed on, I would appreciate that. Maud Matilda H. says, loved her song Magic R.I.P. Olivia. Dusty Floyd says, Magic was my favorite tune. Cancer is so awful, she was a fighter. Superfan Tracy Rothmeyer says, this has got to stop. And Louisa Weiss says, love, let me be there. Doc Savage says, I remember Olivia Newton-John was also in a TV movie called Mom for Christmas. I remember that as well. And Elisa Triumfo says, just heard of her passing and I'm so sad. I loved her since I was about 12. Carlos Robbins says, no way, this is shocking. Stop these deaths, so sad. It is sad, but that's one of those things, unfortunately, that it's really hard to, we can't get away from death. We eventually all do pass on, and it's the life that we live while we're here. Let's all live a life that is so very worthy of celebration. Mike Brown says, I was in the audience of one of her very first U.S. concerts. She was the opening act of Rich Little. Tracy Rothmeyer, superfan Tracy Rothmeyer says, so terrible. And Dennis Jones says that Cliff Richard's song, yes, Suddenly was the duet that Olivia sang with Cliff Richard. And Robert Lamborn says, sad, I give Olivia's family and my condolences. Olivia will be missed, but will be remembered and live on through her music. She certainly will live on, right? And we will be able to remember her at will through great performances in movies like Grease and Xanadu. Superfan Tracy Rothmeyer says, I'm heartbroken. Maurice Hampton says, I love her slow jam. Suddenly is a great tune. Yeah. Choden Sacy says, oh my word, sad news. Her daughter will be devastated. Both love each other dearly. Rest in peace. Dennis Sheckman says, I loved Hopelessly Devoted to You. Louisa Weiss says, if you love me, let me know. Great song. And Jason Schultz agrees, Hopelessly Devoted to You and Have You Never Been Mellow. Classic songs. David C. says, was that her real name or her stage name, as in her real last name? I thought that was her real name. Yeah, let's look it up real quick here. I'll quickly load that up and I'll answer your question, David C. Yep, Tom's going back to work. Kelly Elaine says, I'll watch Grease on DVD tonight. She will always be Sandy. Let's see. Do we have an actual real name for Olivia? That does appear to be her real name. She was born to Brinley Newton-John and Irene Helene. Her Jewish maternal grandfather was the Nobel Prize-winning physicist Max Born, and he fled with his wife and children to Britain from Germany before World War II to escape the Nazi regime. How interesting is that? Wow. All right. Doc Savage says, let's see if we can get this on the screen. She played herself on an episode of Glee. Danny Hooley says, I loved it when she sang Let's Get Physical. I remember seeing the music video for the song as a youngin'. My earliest memories of her. Great stuff. I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of the music for a bit. I like the music, but I think we can do without it. Superfan Tracy Rothmeyer says, too many stars are going. Louisa Weiss says her edition of If is a favorite. Michelle Lentieri says Olivia Newton-John had cancer near her spine, not breast cancer. Well, she had been struggling with breast cancer for over a quarter century. So I have to believe that it was all somehow interconnected. But thanks for the clarification, Michelle. MCB 31 or 31670 says her duet with Cliff Richard suddenly was a favorite. God bless you, Olivia. Doc Savage says, anyone remember when she hosted Saturday Night Live? I don't actually remember that. Scott Allen says, I had a crush on Olivia since the 70s. Rest in peace, beautiful lady. Appalachian Granny says, rest in peace, dearest Olivia. You have saved many women's lives, educating us, encouraging us to check ourselves and get health screenings. We honestly love you. Tone Hobart says, two beauties gone in a week, Olivia and Nichelle. Yeah, Nichelle Nichols we lost last week. So sad. Renee de los Santos says, will I do a video on, or asks, will I do a video on Olivia's variety shows? That would be a lot of fun to do. Great suggestion. James Anderson says, this can't be real with Barry Manilow is very good. Yeah. Not sure about this comment. Says that cigarette moment. I don't know what that means. I don't believe Olivia was a smoker. Oh, you're talking about in Greece. Okay, yeah. Tim Holt says she was heaven on earth. Rest in peace, Olivia. Paul says loved her song Sam. That was a personal favorite of mine as well. William Wilkinson says Tony Dow, now Olivia Newton-John. Hope no one else passes. Eventually someone else will, but let's hope it's not for a while. We'd like everyone to stick around as long as they can. Superfan Superplex says, yeah, her maternal grandfather was Max Born. Danny Hooley says, just like Alex Trebek, who had stage 4 pancreatic cancer for 20 months and continued to host Jeopardy till 10 days before he died. Alex's diagnosis was relatively late, right? And Olivia's she's known about it for years. Now, this may be a different form of cancer, and that may have happened recently. I was unaware, truthfully, but earlier we had someone mention that. So let me quickly pop over to, we have another super chat from a channel patron, and I want to make sure that I cover that one as quickly as possible. See what time that one occurred at, 3:16. So let me move over to there. Then I'll backtrack, and hopefully I'll get a lot of the comments that were behind us. But this is just a super sticker from channel patron Monk Martin. So thank you so much for the super sticker. On StreamYard, I can't see what that sticker shows. You can just see it tells me it's a super sticker. But I have a feeling that it's an emoji that potentially has some emotion to it. So thank you very much, Monk Martin. Again, I truly appreciate your patronage as a community member on my channel, and certainly is a sad day. But thank you for your support. All right, let me back it up. Let's see. We'll go back here. I'm unfortunately not able to go all the way back. There's just been so many comments, so many wonderful comments, and that's what I love. It's the power of YouTube, right? The ability for us as fans of Olivia Newton-John to come together so quickly and visit and share great memories and really just celebrate her life. My friend Steve Tevis, who runs a YouTube channel called The Life and Sad Ending, says, I honestly loved her. I won't play B-17 again. Oh, what a great comment. Thanks, Steve. Cindy Meadows says Pat Ross has died. Yeah, we lost Pat. And Gary Carpenter says, I couldn't stand that song, Physical. I actually loved it when it first came out, but it got played so much that after a while, I would prefer to hear almost anything but that song as well. Pit Dog Luna says, very sad day. And for those folks that are just arriving, let me quickly cover this again. We got news a couple hours ago now from the major news outlets that Olivia Newton-John had passed away from cancer. It says, People magazine says dies of breast cancer at 73. I've heard from some of the fans out there that there may have been cancer closer to her spine. I don't know if it's related to the breast cancer, but what we do know is that she has passed on. And there is a comment from the family. Let me go over there. They say, yeah, and Yahoo says the same thing, that she dies at age 73 after a long struggle with breast cancer. So again, I don't know. I don't know the actual diagnosis and what, at the end of the day, what they're going to attribute her death to. But this message is a good one. It says, Dame Olivia Newton-John passed away peacefully at her ranch in Southern California this morning, surrounded by family and friends. And is there any better way if you're to be surrounded by those that you love? We ask that everyone please respect the family's privacy during this very difficult time. This was a message that was posted to Olivia's Facebook page from current husband John Easterling. He goes on to say Olivia has been a symbol of triumph and hope for over 30 years, sharing her journey with breast cancer. Her healing inspiration and pioneering experience with plant medicines continues with the Olivia Newton-John Foundation, dedicated to researching plant medicine and cancer. In lieu of flowers, the family asks that any donations be made in her memory to the Olivia Newton-John Foundation Fund at onjfoundationfund.org. Okay, let's get back to the comments here. The Surfer Joe show with Chef Frankie says she had a great voice. She sure did. Cindy D says, rest in peace, Roger Mosley. Yes, TC on Magnum PI. David C says, I guess that means John Travolta must be in his 70s too. Wow, yeah, folks are getting old. Up All Night with Bob says, Nick Momona's Two of a Kind. It's not good. Produced a hit single called Twist of Fate. Yeah, I talked about that earlier. Probably the weakest of the Olivia Newton-John movies, in my opinion. Of course, it reteamed her with John Travolta. The best thing that did come out of it was the soundtrack album, which did feature the hit single Twist of Fate that was later on, just a couple years back, featured prominently in the Netflix flicks TV series Stranger Things. Having a hard time speaking. Yes, Two of a Kind is correct. Corey Gommel says, got to be going to that malt shop in the sky. Yeah. Scarlet Ray Magic says she was so lovely. Chrominion says Pat Rosen was the kid who ran away and came to Andy's house with Opie. I'm not sure where. That must be related to an earlier comment. Cleo says, oh my goodness, I was just singing Grease songs yesterday. So sad right now. Ken Pope says, I liked her TV special with ABBA and Andy Gibbs. Andy Gibb, singular. Gary Carpenter, mentions Roger Mosley as well. Chrominion says, George, something was his character name in that episode. Not sure what that is. Richard Winter says, so sad. May she rest in peace. Thanks for the memories. Johnny Hashbarger says, heaven has a new angel. Her and Karen Carpenter are making beautiful music right now. Rest in peace, Olivia. And Elaine Murley says, so sad. Beautiful lady. Earl Collingsworth says, now she and John Denver are singing together again. I'll be playing that today. Yeah, I love that song. David's Classic Television says, this is a sad day. Eric Woodward says Xanadu was good. I certainly think so. And Gary Carpenter says Grease is the word. Let's see. Robert says rest in peace. Had a crush on her when Let's Get Physical came out. Yeah, that was such a big song. 10 weeks in the top of the charts from what I understand. John Wynn says miss her already. Grease is how I became a fan of hers. Rest in peace, ONJ. And David C. recalls that he had a copy of Grease on Laserdisc. Give it a try and watch it. Hey, Lance Chafin, welcome to the live stream. Ruth Ann Caldwell says, heartbroken. Let's see, lots of folks saying hi to Lance. And George M. says, I just heard, how sad. I remember her in Grease in the 70s. Darn Young says, I remember Olivia when she was a teenager singing on my TV. My condolences to Chloe, friends, and family. Johnny the Pill Popper says, this really affects me. She was part of my youth. I named my dog Sandy after her immortal character. May God bless and keep her. Up All Night with Bob says, the 4K transfer of Grease is available on disc and streaming. It's worth a look if you're a fan. Now, Sakina McMurrin gives us a little bit of backstory on her cancer diagnosis. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1992. Sakina remembers this because 2 years before she lost her mom to lung cancer. Olivia Newton-John fought long and hard, in and out of remission for decades. Thanks for the extra info. Truly appreciate that, Sakina. Cindy D says, I heard a comic call her Olivia Newton-Bomb. It always made me chuckle. Hey, Get Off My Lawn says, great music back in the exercise vids in the 80s. Yeah, that boy, would they play that physical song all the time. Pika23 says, I've always loved Let Me Be There. And Quingo Boingo says, I dated a girl who said Grease 2 was better than Grease. I broke up with her. I like Grease 2. It's not better than Grease. Al F says she was great on Glee, and Still Phantom says she was beautiful inside and out. Rest in peace. Carl Smith says first Roger E. Mosley, now Olivia Newton-John. Really hurts. Auntie M says just rewatched her interview on CBS Sunday morning from 2019. That would be a good one to go back and watch. I think I'll do the same. Thanks for the suggestion, Auntie M. Let me scroll here. Lisa Fields, super fan Lisa Fields, says she was one of my favorite people growing up. Loved her music. So sad. Angela Goodwin said she showed another side of herself with physical. She certainly did, right? She really kind of transformed from a good girl pop singer to something a little bit different with the whole physical album and that song. But at the end of the day, no matter how hard she tried, she was always pretty darn wholesome. Let's see. Johnny Harburger says she'll live forever in music and movies. Absolutely. And James Dye says just showed up. Horrible news. Loved her. Gary Carpenter says Xanadu, the movie was a bomb, but I like the song. I like the movie. I mean, the acting wasn't phenomenal. Nothing against Michael Beck. I enjoyed him in The Warriors, but I thought that his acting was atrocious in Xanadu. But that it was offset by Olivia Newton-John, the amazing music, not only by ONJ, but by ELO. And then, of course, you had Gene Kelly. What an amazing movie. And the Tubes. Did I mention that the Tubes? Yes, that crazy art rock band from the 70s and early 80s was also in that movie. They were also in the movie. Monk Martin says, I always knew this day was coming and it still breaks my heart. I'm going to listen to Xanadu and cry a little bit. Rest in peace. Carl Smith says, I don't remember her hosting Olivia Newton-John or SNL. Yeah, I don't remember that. Let me take a quick drink here, folks. I'm sure she did, but I just don't remember it. All right, we're going to quickly, again, I'm not going to read the family's comments again, but I will share. Let me go back to this other screen that all major news outlets are now announcing that Olivia Newton-John has passed away. She's dying. She's dead at the age of 73. This is due to complications, at least the news outlets are reporting, from breast cancer, which was, she's been battling it for a quarter of a century. Yeah, a long, long time. Actually, as Sakina points out, I say a quarter century, but it's 30 years since she was diagnosed in 1992. All right. For those folks that want to go back and read the family's comments and just kind of dig a little deeper and find other ways to connect with Olivia, today I'd suggest maybe hitting her official Facebook page. That's where the family posted the official announcement. I'm sure there's a lot of wonderful pictures and comments being posted there. Pika23 says, I'm going to schedule my mammogram in her honor. Yes, people. Why don't all the women that are in the audience right now in this live stream, if you haven't had one recently, go schedule one now. And remember, Olivia. Let's see. Big Bad John says, I couldn't believe it when I read it. Billy Brown says, so sad. Loved her music as a kid in the early 70s. Country Girl was one of my all-time favorite songs. Loved her in Grease and was always glad to see her when she was on something, as was I. Great comment, Billy Brown. Richard Modica says, do you remember she sang with the group named Tomorrow? I don't remember that. I do remember Sam. Let's see. James Dye says, Xanadu was a guilty pleasure. Not a guilty pleasure for me. Love that movie. And Earl Leary says, I just got to visit her star in Hollywood Boulevard last week, not realizing how close it was to the date her star was put in place. All right. Very cool. All right. And we're back to that super sticker. Thanks again, Monk Martin. Appreciate you as a patron of the channel. Let's see. Solid Man's PlayStation Studios Talk Show Year 2022. What a name. Says Dave Sundstrom, so sad about this news because I love our actors. They were everything to me when I was a kid. Yeah, I think that's what's tough, right? These are people that we grew up with, that we idolized. We loved their music or their acting or whatever, but we just, to watch them get older and in some cases have to fight these valiant battles against such horrible diseases like cancer. Holy cow. Gail Sirroa, I'm just going to murder that one. Gail S. says, I honestly love you. Honestly love that song. Sirrois, maybe it's Sirrois. I love Mickey and he loved one. Says she did not smoke. Yeah, I didn't think she did. Her sister also died of breast cancer, so it ran in the family. Left at Albuquerque says, I heard it on the 5 p.m. news on CBC. They started playing Xanadu and I knew. Big Band John says, her version of If Not For You was the best of all. Agreed. That's a great song. And Corey Gomel says, ONJ plus Jeff Lynne and ELO makes one heck of a great soundtrack. Truly agree. Peter Pagliaro says, people that say this has got to stop, I believe are referring to the current medical industry's capacity to cure cancer. Not to get into a political or conspiracy thing, but it makes one wonder. Here's the deal. I'm not going to get into a political or conspiratorial thing as well, but it's time to make some larger, more positive steps towards helping people battle and beat this disease. Ozymandias 2014 says, physical, first song I remember hearing on the radio as a kid, early 1980s. Rest in peace, Olivia. Left at Albuquerque says, I love Deeper Than the Night. I made an extended remix posted on my channel, a great dance track in the disco era that was soon eclipsed by her physical album. Okay. Mark M. Corroborates something else that was mentioned by another fan earlier, which is while she may have been battling breast cancer for decades, this appears to be a cancer that had affected her spinal system. Nick Malona says she fought that illness hard and she tried to stay positive, so I admire her for that. Rest in peace, Olivia Newton-John. Carla Chastain says, I also loved Hopelessly Devoted to You. And Mr. Papa Giorgio 10 says, rest in peace, Olivia. My two favorite singers as a kid were Olivia and Donna Summer. I hope they are singing together in heaven. Is Donna Summer? She hasn't passed away, has she? Yes, she has. A long time ago. Boy, I missed that. Well, I hope they are as well then. I truly hope they are as well. Great comment. MD says sad. Thanks for sharing this sad news. Well, you're welcome. Exploring Israel's History says this is sad. I agree. Super sad news. Gilbert Moon says first celebrity crush. Superfan Rom58 says Olivia was just 10 years my senior. Loved that woman too. The Plain Truth said she was the one that I wanted. And Carl Smith says now Olivia Newton-John, this one hurts. Left at Albuquerque says Olivia has joined Andy Gibb, Maurice Gibb, Robin Gibb, Laura Branigan, Karen Carpenter, and Donna Summer. What a choir. Yeah, so very true. Robert Curatolo says I hadn't seen her in a while. She always looked healthy, though. This is a live chat. Cynthia will be running for for a few more minutes. Again, the news that we are breaking was reported through most major news outlets a couple of hours ago now that Olivia Newton-John passed away, dead at the age of 73. Her family has posted an official message on her Facebook page, so if you want to go and read that, I would encourage you to do so. Music and News Keeping It Real says listening to Don't Walk Away from Xanadu, great song by the band ELO. John Mooney says so many celebrities passed away these last few weeks. Remembering going to see Grease at the cinema after queuing for nearly an hour. Good gravy. Rest in peace, Olivia. CLJ Jardell says, I wonder if Travolta will attend any of the services. She was the real deal. I wouldn't be surprised if John did attend the services. Chrominian says, it just hit me. I mentioned hearing one of her songs on my ham radio last night, and she passed at 73. In ham radio, 73 is a common way of ending a transmission, meaning best regards. Wow. Yes, and superfan Tracy Rothmeyer says that John said he will always be her Danny. How sweet is that? Cindy D says, I loved her duets with Andy Gibb. And Gary Carpenter says she was always so cheerful. The Numis Maniac says, Olivia will not be forgotten. Her acting and music have been and will continue to be a big part of my family's lives. Superfan Rom58 says she was always so talented. Very lovely and talented. Robert Curatolo points out that she always seemed to have a smile on her face. The other side says, I just watched Grease like 2 weeks ago. Wow. Pika23 says, I really like Strange Twist of Fate. I did too. I thought it was a great song that was attached to a not so great movie. John is 68, reports just Ralph, a Jersey guy stuck in Pennsylvania. And Cindy D says that Olivia had a one-of-a-kind voice. Cynthia Abbott says, this one hits me very hard. I worshipped her when I was young. She always seemed like a sweet lady who had some very rough times. She didn't deserve it. Did she die from cancer or something else? Yes, she did die from cancer. It's a subject of debate here as to, she'd been battling breast cancer for decades and trying to keep that in check right, but it may have affected her spine, and what I'm hearing from some folks. Jose Ramos says, loved her transformation in Greece. Wild 1995 points out that from 78, there was no star bigger than Olivia Newton-John. Left at Albuquerque says, I'm holding her live concert, One Woman's Love Journey, and I'm about to start playing it. Yeah, let's do that, folks. Let's find something tonight, something with Olivia in it, and continue this celebration after this live stream ends by finding a way to just kind of really, immerse ourselves in the woman's talent, in the joy that she is leaving behind. That's, she has left. She's passed away. She is, for those that want to be just absolutely clinical about it, she has died at the age of 73. But that doesn't mean that she is going to leave our memories and be forgotten, because this wonderful woman, well, she just left so many gifts behind. P. Anamal says she's flying high, and CLG Jardel says rest in peace. Scrolling. Yeah, I saw it. I didn't see it on Broadway, but I saw the play and I enjoyed it. Let's see. I'm going to scroll through and find some folks that I haven't highlighted yet. Julie Miller says, oh my goodness, when did this happen? It happened today. This morning, her family reported she passed away this morning, surrounded by family and friends. No better way, right? To be there with the ones you love when you pass on. Had such a girl crush on her, or rather the younger her. Absolutely. She's such a beautiful, vivacious performer, talented artist, right? Willa, just being Willa, says she's taken from us too soon. She was a trailblazer in so many ways. I'm so sad to hear. Johnny Hashberger points out that she was a legend. Cynthia Abbott says she loves Xanadu. I don't care what anyone says. I love it as well, Cynthia. Robert George Yokohama says, I've been a fan since watching Grease in 78. She provided me with so many good memories. Let's see. Yes, I would like to do something for Roger. I don't have the time or, quite frankly, the emotional energy to do another one of these today. But look for something potentially on Roger in the future. Probably less, not a live stream, but rather a tribute video, because he's got some there's an interesting story there. So thanks for pointing that out, Justin. I should say Justin Person. Jimmy Jam says, trivia, when Physical went #1 for 9 weeks, it was sandwiched between Private Eyes and I Can't Go For That, 2 songs by Hall & Oates. Very interesting. Rick Rose says, well, he's just a sad emoji. Yes, I do remember the movie Mom for Christmas. Music and News Keeping It Real points that out. And let's see. Annette Milnchuk says, all of our greats are sadly passing away. Yeah, as the longer we live, the more we will see that happen. And I think the key for us, I really, really believe this, is to, we can feel sad and we can miss these people as they pass on and leave us. But we need to not forget them and to remember the great gifts that they've left behind. So often is the case that people, think about artists that have been gone for 10 and 20 years. How often do we go back and watch their movies? How often do we go back and listen to their music? Not very often sometimes. And the best thing we can do, the highest tribute and praise that we can share after their passing, is to celebrate by enjoying their music or their acting that they did in movies and television shows. Ms. Spanish Lady says, I'm so sad. My favorite song is Suddenly, which she sung with Cliff Richard. Yeah. She is going to be a beautiful angel, no doubt about it. And yes, I remember when Physical was treated as somewhat scandalous and banned in some, not just in South Africa. I believe there were certain radio stations here in the U.S. that chose not to play it. CS says, feeling kind of silly, but I've been weepy all day. She was my first crush, not like a sexual thing, but like a 10-year-old girl who thought she was the most beautiful woman in the world. I get that. I totally get that. I'm going to skip the next comment because it's in bad taste. Uh, let's see. CS says Xanadu was my movie, and I wanted to be a roller disco queen from early on. Coingo Boingo apparently looked a lot like John Oates back in the 90s. Interesting. Carlos Martinez says an angelic voice that can never be duplicated. Wild 1995, welcome to the live stream, says the song Physical was sexual in nature and she did not want to do the song because of that. She was the one that turned it into an exercise with a wink. I did not know that. Well, even if she didn't want to do it, I'm sure she, after the fact, appreciated having done that song simply because of the fame that really propelled her to superstardom. She was already there, but as an artist, there was that album, that Physical album, was such a phenomenon back in the early 80s. Let's see. A bunch of hooey says that they'd forgotten the song suddenly. Yeah, that's a good one. Cliff Richard, another great performer. And Kalina, yeah, the Tubes, man. They're right there in that. You remember the part in Xanadu where there's the big band there? It's where Gene Kelly and Michael Beck's characters are imagining what the roller disco music hall is going to be like, and Gene Kelly's imagining it with a big band, and Michael Beck's character is imagining it with a rock and roll band, and then they kind of morph. That rock and roll band, that's the Tubes. It was a fun cameo that they were able to make in that movie. Gay Scott says, I named my golden retriever Sandy. I didn't get to breed her. I was able to do that. If I was able to do that, the puppies would have been the Pink Ladies and the Thunderbirds. How cool is that? Love it. Chrominion says the Tubes opened for her in concert when I saw her live. I looked it up and it was 82. I couldn't recall if it was 82 or 83. That makes sense because they both had Kenny Ortega as basically responsible for their shows, their live shows. Kenny Ortega's gone on to do a lot of different things. In the world of film, he was the director of High School Musical on Disney's High School Musical. But yeah, I would have loved to have seen the Tubes open up for Olivia. I've seen the Tubes numerous times. That's kind of that would have had to have been a very, very toned down version of the Tubes that would open up for Olivia, because otherwise I can see folks leaving before she even takes the stage. Chota Sasi says that I know her more watching Grease, 100 times loving her singing. Okay, that's great. Yeah, that mashup was fun. Yeah, that Diet Coke is poison. Love it. It's a vice. It's a vice, and I'm sorry to make you thirsty, Big Bad John. Stardust Memory says, Dave, thanks for these tributes. It makes the grief less painful when our heroes pass. A place to share our grief makes us feel less lonely. You know what? I think that's where I'm going to leave it today. I'm going to, for those folks who are just arriving, we did get news from all major news outlets, a couple of hours ago now, passing Olivia Newton-John. Born September 26, 1948. She passed away this morning, August 8th, 2022, surrounded by family and friends in her ranch home in Southern California. This was after a valiant battle, 30-year battle with cancer. So thanks, everybody, for joining me for this live stream today. I truly appreciate you, and I appreciate the fact that we can connect and we can do this, and we can, yes, we grieve, right? But we also celebrate some really, it's great memories. And hopefully we leave this live stream, at least I leave this live stream, resolved to not forget the artist, to always cherish the gifts that this artist, and in this case, we're talking about Olivia Newton-John. So it's both music and movies, some TV work she did. Let's not forget those. Let's not leave them behind. Tonight, I'm going to find something to watch and just to celebrate everything that Olivia left. So thanks, folks. I appreciate you, and I hope you have, despite the sad, sad news today, I hope you have a great remainder of the day. Take care, everyone.